Evening. My name's Jeremiah Hughes. Happy to be in Tacoma. Happy to be in any city, really, because I come from a poor little town called Aberdeen, Washington. You guys can smell the poverty on me. Okay, that's For those of you that don't know, Aberdeen, Washington's a poor little town where Kurt Cobain and Nirvana came from. Yeah. It's a town so dirty and poor it created grunge music. You're welcome. So. And as a kid growing up there, it was always really annoying, dude. Anytime anyone heard Aberdeen, that's what they thought it was, Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. But Aberdeen has more going for us than that, because Aberdeen, Washington was recently voted the ugliest city in Washington. So, for the third time in a row. So don't come for our title, you will get robbed at needlepoint, okay? All I'm trying to say is where I come from, those tents have front porches. They're staying. But people that don't know I come from an area like that, some people will look at me and they'll be like, hey man, you need to check your privilege, because not everyone's from a gated community, jerk. And I'm always surprised. I'm like, dude, how did you know I'm from the only gated trailer park in Aberdeen? The only other gated community where I come from is called Stafford Creek Penitentiary. So, it's fun. I get to travel around, do comedy quite a bit. I was in Spokane 2 weeks ago. I said I was from Aberdeen, Washington, and everyone pointed and laughed at me like it was a punchline. You know how bad your hometown has to be for Spokane, Washington to laugh at you? I get to do all sorts of cool benefit shows too. Like I've recently helped raise thousands of dollars for the Humane Society, and I've also worked with the Wish Foundation. One of my favorite benefits that I've ever got to do is I got to travel through Washington State and perform at prisons for inmates. And that was fun because when I said I was from Aberdeen there, I got a standing ovation. So, after the show, people would want to come up to me, they'd want to tell me their tie to Aberdeen. This guy came up to me after one show in prison and he goes, hey man, I know Aberdeen. That's where I was arrested at. I was like, me too, what's up? It's fun, man. I get to travel all around. People know Aberdeen no matter where I go. And when you come into Aberdeen, there's a big billboard that says, come as you are. It's a Kurt Cobain song. Which, to be honest, I think it's kind of a lame hometown motto. I think we could come up with something way better. Like, if I had to make the hometown motto, I'd make it fun and creative, but also brutally honest. Like, I think the hometown motto for my hometown should be, welcome to Aberdeen. We put the win in heroin. Which is fun, right? It's creative, but nothing could beat what came in second place because everyone that lived in Aberdeen at the time got a vote for the hometown motto. And what came in second place was my favorite. I just don't think they could have used it. Because it was shoot for the stars, not your veins, Aberdeen, Washington. Growing up in the mid-90s in that area, you know, I always got bad advice from my parents. Like every time I got hurt, my parents would come up to me and they'd be like, don't worry, Jeremiah, chicks dig scars. I wish they were honest about what scars chicks actually dug. Because I've never once been laid off of those emotional scars. So. You know, chicks came up to me after a show and been like, wait, you were raised in a trailer park and denied food stamps? We got a bang right now, are you kidding? I still get bad advice all the time too. Like I was traveling to Las Vegas not too long ago to perform in the World Series of Comedy. My buddy sent me a text. He's like, hey man, you gotta burn sage. Because burning sage is super good luck. And no one ever bothered to tell me that burning sage I own myself was really bad luck. And I learned that way too late when my cat died. Yeah, so rest in peace, Sage. I'm gonna miss her. That joke's always a good barometer to see how cool you guys are, so. Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad, he was an EMT, he was an ambulance driver. So the way he described his job to me as a kid was he said that driving an ambulance is a lot like driving a taxi, except you don't get the tips. Which you're right to laugh, that's a terrible analogy. I don't think it's anything like that. Like, could you imagine if ambulance drivers took tips? And I think I could see it now. I could just see like you're getting rushed to the hospital and my dad just slides that little window open from the back and he's like, yeah, this iPad's gonna ask you a question actually. You'd have to tip an ambulance driver too, dude. Could you imagine if you said no to a tip in an ambulance and you just feel it slow down? I don't think driving an ambulance is anything like driving a taxi. But I was thinking about it, and I do think driving an ambulance is a lot like driving DoorDash. Because the whole goal of either of those is you got to get the delivery there before it gets cold. All right, we pulled back a little more on that one, that's fair. Just finding the line, that's all I'm doing. I love comedy, man. It's my favorite job I ever had. I've had a lot of different jobs in my life, which is just a polite way of saying I've been fired a lot. Like I got fired one time for drinking and working. I got called in the boss's office like, Jeremiah, you can't be drinking and working. And I'm so much fun, I'm like, who's working, you know? I've had a lot of cool jobs. Probably one of my favorite jobs I ever had was I worked at a daycare for a while. You seem worried, that's okay, they were safe, don't worry. It was fun. I don't have kids, but I learned really quickly there's two main types of kids. There's kids that hate getting dizzy, and kids that freaking love getting dizzy. Or as I call those kids, the future alcoholics of America. Because just like regular alcoholics, those future alcoholics do not know when to stop. Like I gotta give big life lessons at daycare. I gotta walk up to Billy, I gotta be like, Billy, we puked twice. We're getting close to what we call a blackout, little buddy. Now from personal experience, listen up, Billy. From personal experience, what we're gonna wanna do is lay down and take a nap. Because if we keep going, we're gonna poop our pants and get arrested, okay? I've been fired from a lot of jobs, that's all I'm saying. I celebrated 7 years with my girlfriend not too long ago. I love her very much. She's a great person. Thank you, yeah. It's weird growing your life with somebody because you learn about their personalities the longer you're with them. And with 7 years, something I think the funniest thing about us is that our gender roles are reversed. Like for example, she likes to work on her old Honda Civic for fun. And I like scented candles. And she's a tough lady, you know? She says stuff like, I ain't going to no doctor. And I went to the hospital one time for coughing too hard from a bong hit, so. We're different people, man. She was raised by a hardworking single dad that didn't talk about her feelings. And I was raised by a therapist mom. And I know what you're thinking, like, you were raised in a trailer park? Like, how? Your mom's a therapist. I never said she was a good therapist. But she did teach me to talk about my feelings, so when me and my lady fight, sometimes some stuff gets lost in translation, you know? Like I'll say things like, I love you, we shouldn't go to bed angry, let's work this out. And then she says stuff like, thank you, but I'm not going to bed angry. I'm going to the bar, screw you, dude. Different people, you know? But one thing being with someone for so long, for 7 years, is, you know, you guys gotta pick up new hobbies together. So I picked up a new hobby recently. It's flirting with dudes. How you doing, handsome? You're looking good, yeah. It started out as a joke, but then I quickly realized how badly men need compliments, you know? Like the default reaction anytime you hit a guy with, hey, what's up, handsome? Is he's like, hey? Stop it, for real? Oh my God. And the older the dude, the more they appreciate the compliments, you know? Like I said, what's cooking good looking to an old guy the other day? He kissed me and gave me a hug. What was that? It's assault, that's what that was, guys. So here's a PSA for the ladies in the audience, right? Like, normally you don't learn stuff in comedy, I get that, but dudes are starved for attention. That's why we sneeze so freaking loud. It's a cry for help, that's what it is. So dude, the next time you see a dude sneeze at the top of his lungs, don't say God bless you, give him a blowjob, that's what he needs. I was driving through town when I was doing comedy not too long ago. I saw a reader board that said April's Child Abuse Awareness Month, which I think is stupid, because those kids are well aware. They're probably the most aware, to be honest. I think that's stupid though. What type of, like, who's that advice for, you know? Just a dad driving by like, oh yeah, I shouldn't do that. I like to picture who that advice is for. It's just a dad in Aberdeen at a Walmart. He goes, Jeremiah, sit down, shut up, look at me, you're lucky it's April, you know. Made you flinch, don't cry. All right, that got sad, I'm just kidding. It's always fun to tell that joke because you can see who was hit because they laugh and the other people get uncomfortable. So it's good to know that you guys had good childhoods. My dad was a little more hands-on. He's a redneck from Montana, self-complained. He'll say he's a redneck from Montana. So being raised by a redneck in Montana, he was a little more hands-on than the other people in my neighborhood. He'd grab me by the back of the neck and steer me around. Or as he called it, the Montana steering wheel. We have fun, you know? I remember this one time I had an ear infection and he had to take work off. He was pissed. And then when we got there, he grabbed me by the back of the neck and he reeled me in. And he was like, boy, if you're not actually hurt, you're gonna be when I'm done with you. And I grew up to be a petty, petty man. Like, I can't wait for my dad to be on his deathbed. Because I'll have to take work off, I'll be pissed, you know? I'll give him the old Montana steering wheel. I'll be like, Pa, if you're not actually hurt, you're gonna be when I'm done with you. It's me killing my dad, yeah? All right. Yeah, man. It's fun. Everyone in my family knows my dad's a hard guy to get along with, even my mom. Like, when I was a kid, my mom would take me to her friend's house, Eric. And Eric was a kind, sweet, loving guy. He's the opposite of my dad. So the feelings I had for Eric were really confusing as a kid. One day I went up to my mom and I was like, Mom, I think Eric should be my dad because I love Eric more than Dad. And she handled it super well. She was like, shh. I love him more than Dad too, don't mess this up. Which is extra funny as an adult, because I got a paternity test done, and Eric is my dad, so. I do embarrassing things, man. My entire childhood I've embarrassed myself, and continues into my adulthood. Recently I got a new phone number with a new phone, which normally isn't a weird thing, but the person that had the phone number before me died. Yeah, it was weird, because I was getting texts and calls for a dead person. And then it got weirder, because then the mom texted me. She was like, honey, I can't bear to delete this phone number. I miss you, I love you, fly high, Mom. I didn't know what to say to a text like that. I learned immediately what I should not have said to a text like that. Because I just said, love you too, Mom. And she was pissed, you know? I had no choice but to ghost her like her dead daughter. I'm kidding, I sent her a dick pic instead, you know? I'm sorry I'm so weird, I don't know why I'm like this. I blame it on my family, man. When I was a kid, they would take me to the family ranch in Ekalaka, Montana to learn how to buck hay and do chores and be a man. One of my least favorite chores at the end of a long day was I had to give my aunt a shoulder massage, which was one of my least favorite chores because after a couple whiskeys, she got a little into that shoulder massage. Yeah, dude, if I hit that knot just right, she'd lean back and be like, ooh, yeah. Which I don't know why she was Randy Savage in that impression, but it was weird, you know? I didn't know what the hardest part of that was besides me. Relax, a little Montana humor, guys, jeez. But seriously, at 12, I didn't have the communication skills to tell my aunt, please stop, that makes me uncomfortable. So I did the only thing I could think of to make it stop, which is to make it extremely uncomfortable for both of us. So when I hit that knot just right, and she leaned back, and she was like, ooh, yeah. I just leaned in her ear, and I was like, yeah? That worked way too well, you know? She still hasn't talked to me, so that's my time. Thank you, guys. Thank you.